2022 was probably the most interesting year in Halifax real estate since I became a licensed realtor in 2014. And it was really the tale of 2 years, the first 6 months and the last 6 months. So today I'm going to walk you through what really happened in 2022 in the Halifax real estate market. And I'm going to take you through quite a few different stats and details to really put it all into context for you. So in 2022, in the Halifax Dartmouth region, we saw 5,519 sales, which is down 26% from 2021. These sales sold for an average of just under $536,000, which is actually up 16.3% from 2021. And the average days on market was 18 days, which is 4 days faster than we saw in 2021. And currently we have about 2 months of listing inventory, when this time last year we had just over half a month. So that's a huge difference there. Now I'm going to break this down a lot further and get into a lot more detail. But before I do, if you like this content and you want to see more, please click the like and subscribe to my channel. I post videos every week on YouTube about the Halifax real estate market and buyer and seller tips. Also, if you want to book a call or a meeting with me, you can do so anytime in the Calendly link below in my description at a time when it's convenient for you. So in the first half of 2022, we had an average selling price of about $569,000, and it took about 13 days on average to sell a house in the Halifax Dartmouth region. And then the interest rates started going up and the headlines started rolling in. So the market is crashing, the market is tanking. Halifax sees a massive dip in their real estate market. Canadian real estate prices are down, and so on. And then in the second half of the year, we saw a totally different story. So from 569,000 in the first half of the year, we actually dropped to 490,000 in the second half of the year, and the average market time almost doubled at 24 days compared to the 13 days in the first half of the year. So if we look at this from a price perspective, this 490 versus 569, well, in the second half of the year, we were down about 14% from the first half of the year. Now, if I break this down further by quarter, in the first quarter, we had 1,143 sales for an average selling price of $578,000. In the second quarter, we had 2,044 sales, which was at an average selling price of $564,000. In the third quarter, we had 1,333 sales at an average of $489,000. And in the final quarter, we had 999 sales at an average selling price of $493,000. So as you can see there, in the fourth quarter, our price actually came up from the third quarter, and we actually had a pretty strong finish to the year, with prices holding from about the summer onward to the end of 2022. So in terms of listing inventory, we started the year off about just in between a half and 3/4 of a month's worth of inventory, which is astronomically low for Halifax. By the midpoint of the year, we are up to about a month worth of inventory. And then by the time we get to September, we had about 2 months worth of listing inventory, which is about where we're sitting right now at the start of 2023. So this is still a seller's market. Anything less than 3 months would be considered a seller's market. Anything from 4 to 6 months would be a balanced market. Anything from 6 months and above would be considered a buyer's market. So we still have a very long way to go before we would ever get back to a balanced market or a buyer's market. But it is important to know that inventory has come back to kind of reality a little bit, and it's really a good thing. It's showing signs of a healthier real estate market and trending more towards a balanced market than we were at this time last year. Now let's not forget, we started the year in 2021 extremely hot. We had very little inventory and listings were exploding. So I can tell you at the start of 2021 in January, we had a townhouse listing in Clayton Park that had over 125 showings in 5 days. And there was a snowstorm in the middle of that. So it was absolutely bonkers in January and February, especially. So last year, we started off the year in January, averaging about 23 showings per listing in HRM. By the time we got to April, that was cut almost in half, down to 12 showings per listing on average. And by the time we got to the mid-year point in July, things had really slowed down. We were at about 6.5 average views per listing. And then from July until the end of the year, we kind of hovered around that month, about 5 to 6 showings per listing on average, and we kind of just hung out there until here we are now in 2023. Now moving on to interest rates, this was one that was obviously a big thing in the news last year in 2022, as we had 7 rate hikes from the Bank of Canada in 2022, and I think really everybody expected they were going to go up, but I think that the extent that the Bank of Canada went to here really did surprise a lot of people. So let's take a look at what happened with the interest rates in 2022. So at the start of the year, the rate started at 0.25%. Now by April 13th, 13th, we were already up to 1%. By July 13th, we were up another 1.5% to 2.5%. By September 7th, it was up again in a massive amount to 3.25%. And by year end, we are at 4.25%. So this is a massive, massive difference throughout the year. We started off at 0.25%, then we ended off at 4.25%. And it's important to note that there are 8 dates for rate announcements coming to us in 2023. So we'll keep you posted as those come up, but January 25th is the first one. And I feel like what's going to happen in the 2023 real estate market across Canada is going to be very much determined by what the Bank of Canada does with the interest rates. Now, another stat I like to talk about in these updates is percentage of the list price. So what I mean by this is based on what a property is listed for, what percentage are the sellers actually getting as a sale price versus the list price. So we started off the year, and in the month of January, we were at about 110% of sale price versus list price ratio. So properties are selling on average for more money than they were listed. This peaked in March and was sitting at about 125%. So in other words, if something was listed at $500,000, it would sell for 25% more than that on average. By the time we got to July, we were down to about 100%, and then it floated around 98 to 100% since that time in July. Now, the big thing with this is not necessarily was this going down at such a drastic rate from the peak in March, but the whole strategy changed as the market softened. So in January, we were still underpricing properties as a listing strategy by quite a bit. So in other words, if I thought something was going to sell for somewhere in the 550 to 600 range, a lot of times we were listing those properties at 499,000. But by the time we got to, July, August, September, if I thought a property was going to sell for $575,000, I'd probably list it at 579.9 or 589.9 or 575 even, just to give you a bit of an idea. So I do think that is a big reason, and really we're still healthy there. We're still sitting at about 99 to 100% right now. So that's a good sign for the real estate market going forward. So right now, what are we seeing in Halifax? Well, we're seeing kind of a standoff between the buyers and the sellers. We have the sellers wanting the old pricing from the first half of 2022. We have buyers looking for the pricing that is the second half of 22. And the sellers are kind of sitting there saying, well, I'll sell, but I'm not in a rush, so I'll wait to get my price. And the buyers are kind of saying, well, we think the market is softening, so we're going to wait it out and see what happens. But only time will tell whether that's a good move for the buyer or a good move for the seller. But I think a big factor in 2023 is going to be what happens with the interest rates. That is going to be a big factor in what happens this year. Now, if you made it this far, I hope you got some value out of this video, and I hope that it puts all those headlines and all the stuff you've been seeing in the news into some context for you of what really happened here in Halifax in 2022. Now, if you have any questions about the real estate market, I would love to chat. Don't forget you can book a call or a meeting with me anytime in my Calendly link below in my description whenever it is convenient for you. And if you like this video and you did get some value out of it, I would love to see you throw a like on it and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and have a great day.